What's going on? Welcome back to Red Park Garage. We're back here working on the Nissan Skyline again, and unfortunately we're still waiting on the fittings and stuff that I had to order for the oil cooler. So while we're waiting on those parts to come in, I'm going to go ahead and work on some of this other stuff. Got to remove the intake manifold now that we've got everything worked out as far as fitment, so I can work on the coolant lines and figure out where all that stuff's going. I'm going to go ahead and take the turbo and the turbo manifold back off. I got to change all the exhaust studs out. The exhaust manifold's getting heat wrapped, and I got to figure out what to do with some of the lines on the side of the block. There's a couple of things that have to be capped off over here that were for the old turbo, and so I'm going to work on that stuff right now and see where we get with that. Alright guys, here's a little update. I ended up moving the oil feed line from the relocation block over to the engine block over here with the shorter feed line. This is a special size plug. It had a banjo bolt in here, and it ended up being that the turbo kit had this fitting, and I didn't have a way to block the hole off, so I just went ahead and put the feed over here and kind of cleaned up the other side. Got all these exhaust studs swapped out, and got the new gasket on here, got the head surface cleaned up and everything. So the only thing I've really got left to figure out over here is this this water return line from the turbo. And so I'm going to work on that. And I think what I'm going to end up doing is probably cutting this line down here and flaring it, and putting a rubber hose on here, because the new turbo actually is water and oil cooled. So you can see right here we've got the water in and out right here. This is the oil feed. This is going to be the oil return, which is not cut to length, but it's in place. I was doing some more mock-up work last night, and so I got everything kind of where it's going to go. And so I think that's what I'm going to do, is flare that line and just use a rubber line for the return over here. The feed line is actually coming from there's supposed to be a T right here. Let me get some extra light. There's supposed to be a T right here. So there was like a short rubber line, and then a T, and then this heater hose on the other side. And one side of that T went to the turbo around behind the block. And then there's this other line. Let's see, this one right here. And I don't think I'm going to be reusing this, but this one went here and bolted to the bottom of the intake, which that's not going to work now. And then there was like a short hose that jumped from this end to this outlet on the thermostat housing. And this T actually used to go to the oil cooler, the original oil cooler thing. You remember me taking it off. It's like a water to oil cooler, which has been eliminated. So I would have to cap this off anyway. So what I'm going to probably end up doing is just removing this hose from this fitting right here, and getting a new hose and just running it straight to here, because I don't need anything on that hose. It's just going to come straight here. Probably cap this one off. It used to go to I think the throttle body, but I was looking at everything last night, and this I don't think I'm going to need it anymore. So I'm going to take this off, cap it, run a line from here, and then I'm going to feed the water to the turbo from here. And this one did have another T. It was like a 4-way T. Let me see if I can find this thing. It's right here. This thing is dilapidated. I tried to clean the rust off of it, to see what was left. And as you can see, it was pretty far gone. I mean, there's even holes way up here in the seating surface. I know you guys can see that, but this thing is just pretty much completely shot. Rust holes all through it. So I'm not going to be using this, obviously. But basically, this is the line that used to go to the turbo, and this line went towards the intake. There was several lines that went into the intake. The new intake setup, which we'll get into it more in depth later, but it's got ports going into the head on the intake. So you see these. This is a water port. This is a water port. Water. Okay, so there's 4 places right there, and you can see on this intake, there's the front water port right there. See it? And then we've got, that's a water port, that's a water port, and that's a water port. So basically what's going to happen is all of these little hoses are going to hook to those, and the upper radiator hose is actually going to hook up to this guy right here. So I can either take this hose, probably, that may end up being what I do instead of capping it off, just to make sure we've got good flow. But all it is a return line, so it's just kind of redundant. But this line could actually come into one of these side ports right here. I'm gonna have to re-tap that hole, because for whatever reason none of the fittings fit these threads. I don't know what they are, but I mean, I can just tap it out to one of the fittings that I do have. But all the rest of these fittings fit fine, so I don't know what the deal is with these sides. It didn't even come with plugs to fit those. So but anyway, so there's like a little hole for a bracket right there, Somehow this is supposed to mount to the bottom of the intake. I haven't gotten to that point yet, but the upper radiator hose is going to come from the radiator to here. And obviously this is where the water comes out of the head and comes into the radiator, and then the return is in the bottom, coming into the water pump right here. So this is a return line here. This is a pressure line on this port here. So that's why that side will feed the turbo. So we will get some of the cooling system cleaned up after all, even though I mean, it looked like a crazy mess when we started, but I really got in here and started digging into it, and figured out some of this stuff. And the people that make and sell the intake were no help whatsoever. They didn't send any kind of documentation, so you just gotta have some common sense and figure this stuff out, because they didn't even so much as put an instruction sheet in here to tell you what the hardware was for. I mean, all this stuff right here, not this, but all this, all came with the intake. All this stuff with absolutely zero instructions. So instead of me having a sheet I can read over and kind of get an idea of where everything's going, I just have to figure it out, which is fine. It's not like I can't figure it out. It just takes a lot more time. Everything on this car seems to take a lot of time. So anyway, we're making progress for sure. It's just going to be a matter of just figuring out where everything goes, which I've pretty much got figured out now. So at this point, I've got the turbo stuff figured out. None of this stuff's really tight yet, but I got everything mocked up so I could make sure the water lines and fittings and everything were going in the right place. Drain line, all that good stuff. So I think what I'm about to do now is go ahead and heat wrap this manifold, and I'm going to heat wrap this downpipe to the flex joint right here, and that way the firewall and stuff's protected a little bit, and that's going to be fun. I'm not looking forward to that at all. The heat wrap is fiberglass, so that should give you an idea of why I'm not looking forward to it. Alright guys, I just wanted to go over everything we just did and saw in the time-lapse footage. So we got the manifold wrapped, got it installed on the engine. The turbo is bolted down, everything's tight there. The downpipe is pretty tight. I don't have it completely locked down yet because I want to hook the downpipe and the converter up before I tighten this clamp all the way down, but it won't move right now. Got the wide band put in. I'm still working on the wastegate. This is the PWM boost controller, and started working on getting it roughed in. So hey, everything is looking good on this side. Just kind of, you know, there's some things that are finalized here, but not everything. So, you know, basically, you know, this is looking pretty good here. This is the coolant return line. It's already hooked to the engine block. Drain hose. This is the coolant feed line I've still got to hook up, which is no big deal. But anyway, we also have the valve covers and the timer cover and the strut brace just got back. Look at this thing. Now, this stuff came out beautiful. They did a really good job on this stuff. So this is the RB26 set. So it's gonna have like a much cleaner look for this new intake manifold and everything. So this stuff's just beautiful. So we will not put this stuff on until pretty much everything else is done, because I don't want to scratch it up or anything. And the way the new intake manifold and the exhaust and everything is set up, that stuff won't be in the way. So once everything else is done, I'll be able to swap out the valve covers and the timer cover. You know, kind of be like the, you know, the finishing touches, so to speak, like putting icing on the cake. So we're going to stop this video here. I think this is already going to be a pretty long video, but I appreciate you guys watching. You know, subscribe. I heard if you click that bell, you know, that does something. I don't know. Let me know if it does. And we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.